Hi, everybody. Good morning. Today is Sunday, May 17th, and if you're watching, you're joining me, Jennifer from Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, live on Sunday morning coffee hour. I do hope some folks tune in. We've got some fun stuff to talk about. I feel like I haven't done my own live stream in a few weeks, and I guess I haven't. I've been very busy in a good way, doing all kinds of fun projects, which some of which I will tell you about. And I'm in the throes of editing a project right now, so that's very time consuming. Anybody who does that, you know how that is. Very, very time consuming. Yeah, so welcome to Sunday morning coffee hour with gals, ghosts, and ladies. I've got a regular old cup of coffee, hot coffee, cream and sugar. Tell me what's in your coffee cup and where are you drinking it? I'm drinking mine in Quincy, Massachusetts at Lizzie Lou Studio, where I live stream from. So I hope that everybody's comfortable. I hope you've got a cup of coffee or put whatever you want in that coffee cup. This is a no judgment zone. Um, but get comfortable this morning, and we're going to talk about some fun stuff. I see two people are watching. Let's see. Who do we have in the comments? Good morning, Dan. Nice to see you. Happy Sunday. Anybody else that's watching, let me know who is there. Let's see. I can show comments on stage. Good morning, Sue, watching from Somerville. And you know what I say, where there's Sue, Nathan is usually not far behind. So good morning, you guys. Hope you had a great night last night. I can't wait to hear all about it. Uh, so yeah, guys, get yourself some coffee. Let's see. So yeah, I've been very busy. Want to get down to business, but keep those comments coming. I would love to know where you're watching from. Um, uh, Dan in Berkeley, Kelly. We know Kelly's down towards the Cape, down Wareham Way, and Sue in Somerville. Like I said, I'm here in Quincy. If any of you don't know this, I've said this before. I can see the USS Salem from my front window. I'll show you guys a picture. I can only see the top of it, and it's only this big, but I can see it. Mainly, I can see the drawbridge over the bay. But anyways, let's see. So, reminder to everybody, we are in 18 and over space. You know what I like to say. Sometimes I'm a little bit disturbed that we're not more disturbed by the disturbing things that we talk about. And today is no different. We're going to talk about some weird stuff. Um, oh, Kathy. Good morning, Kat. Kat is at home in Maine. We know Kat. Kat was our special guest on Paranormal Panel a couple weeks back, and I'm excited to tell you all that I'm working on putting some more of those together. So I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned, more of those coming. So where was I? 18 and over space. I make no judgments about what's in your coffee cup. This is a 420 friendly space. Smoke them if you got them. I know I sure did. And on that note, I don't know. Here it is. Smoke them if you got them. I know I sure did. Good old wake and bake on a Sunday. Like I said, this is an 18 and over space. No judgments. Um, as always, I want to give a shout out to Ladybug Pest Control, my day job, which is always very, very supportive of my hobby of live streaming, and I really, really appreciate that. Also, if you're local to the Quincy area and you need pest control, give us a call at Ladybug Pest Control because we can help out. Um, so I do want to share a little story with you. Some of you know, and if you didn't know before, you're going to know now. So I am working closely with my friend Christy Parrish on a project called The Walk. So The Walk is Christy Parrish. Many of you know who she is. She's a local psychic medium, historian, keeper of history, and just all around decent human being. Such a nice lady. We just love her. But anyways, she's very sensitive, and at this point, we've got her walking through locations, many of which where she's never been before and doesn't know anything about it, and we're filming her, and then we are editing the footage, and we're hoping to produce a program. I think you get where I'm kind of going with this. You know what I mean? And I think we have a really good format going, and if you're interested in having the walk booked, you got to hit me up. You don't hit Christy up because she doesn't want to know about the location. You got to hit me up. And we are really booking into July and August at this point. And Kelly, I saw Kelly signed on we've got to talk about not one, but two locations. One we've got nailed down and another one that we've got coming up. So I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to say that I'm working so hard. We are independent filmmakers, for lack of better words. Christy is, I am, so many of you are. So we've got all our footage. We filmed Christy at this location doing her walkthrough, and we downloaded all our footage. She's working on a project, working on editing at her house. I'm working on editing at mine. And then we're going to have a meeting of the minds and see how we can go forward with this. So I had downloaded all the footage, 3 cameras worth of footage and photographs. And I had downloaded everything to my computer. And I spent the last few weeks like kind of hacking and shopping and putting a timeline together. If anybody edits video footage in any kind of software, I was putting a timeline together, knowing that it needed to be edited, right? No, but I was putting a timeline together. Things happened in this order in these clips, making some notes to myself, so on and so forth. So I put the entire timeline together. So I hadn't been devoting as much time as I should have to this project. So I cleared yesterday, like 2 weeks in advance. I cleared yesterday, and I brought out a big screen TV. I ran an HDMI cord from my computer so I could sit in my recliner with my, wireless mouse and keyboard and work on it on the big screen, right? And I kid you not, it crossed my heart in Scout's honor, I kid you not. I worked on this program from 3:30 yesterday morning till 3:30 yesterday afternoon with a couple of breaks to go to the bathroom, to get a cup of coffee, to take the dog out for a pee. But I worked on this thing for 12 hours. And even my husband knew I was very, very involved in this project because, oh, hi, Lisa, I'm glad you're able to pop in. But I really worked on this project for 12 hours. And even my husband knew. He said I was so quiet all day. He knew how involved I was in this project. Again, anybody who's ever edited video know that listen, if you have ADHD, it comes in really handy when you're going to edit video because you're just so focused, laser focused. So that was 3:30 yesterday morning till 3:30 yesterday afternoon. And then at 3:30 yesterday afternoon, I coughed or I moved wrong in my recliner. And I had a little lap desk that I had my keyboard and my mouse on. And I don't know what happened, but I was about 80% done with this project because I'd spent 12 freaking hours on it yesterday. And I coughed and my stuff went flying. And that 80% of my work, 12 hours, more than 12 hours, because so much I had done during the week too, probably 18 hours worth of work, disappeared from my timeline. And when I clicked undo, I got the circle with the slash through it. There was no undoing. 80% of my project was gone. 12 hours worth of work completely down the drain. And I was devastated. So again, if anybody ever has done anything like that and lost so much work, well, I'm back to the drawing board. I went back to it last night and I said, hey, at least I've got a good basis in my head of exactly what I want here. So I'm starting to put it back together. And of course, it's not going to be as time consuming because I've already done it once before. And it's not a matter of saving the work because it's cloud-based, so it saves automatically. So I even got out of it and tried to get back in it, but I just completely, Dan, OMG, I'm putting this, yes, so sad. Dan says OMG, and Erin says, where's Erin's? That's so sad. You want to know how sad that is? I went downstairs and cried, literally cried, real tears. Sue, thank you for that because that comes from your heart and I know it. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. It was a devastating loss. And Kathy, thank you for that. It will teach me to never trust saving anything to the cloud at this point. And shame on me, because at this point, I have OneDrive, I have Google Cloud, I've got Google Drive, I've got OneDrive, and then I also have a 4 terabyte hard drive, and I save my shit everywhere. And then I've also got these. I don't ever reuse an SD card. I spend a fortune in these because I save everyone and they're exclusive. And so now all my shit is saved in 4 places, because I can't afford, now I have to do that with my projects, but I can't afford to lose clips. So they're just saved in 4 different places. Nathan is kind of my camera soulmate. Yeah, yeah. Nathan, you know. So that was a lot of work. And like I said, last night, then I took a break at 3:30, cried, talked to my husband, had a little dinner, had a very nice steak dinner, by the way, I must say. And then at 5 o'clock, 5:30, jumped right back into it and just started rebuilding it. And then today I'm just right back on rebuilding the project. And Kathy says she does the same. And anybody knows you have to save shit in 5 different places or you are screwed. If listen, I have had external hard drive fails before. So I have a 4 terabyte external hard drive. Yay me! But I've had hard drives fail before. And lost valuable stuff. So lesson learned. I just save things in 9 different places except my project in the software, which automatically saves it to the cloud. So I said to my husband over dinner last night, because I really do feel like I am an independent filmmaker, and Christy and Kerry and we are building an independent film project, and this is going to be something. I think we have a great format and a good project here. I said to my husband over dinner, now I know how Quentin Tarantino felt when he was just starting out. And we both laughed so hard that we just had tears rolling down our eyes, rolling down our face. Um, because Quentin Tarantino, like Jennifer Payne, started out his filmmaking career with a handheld camera trying to make a feature film with his little camera, and Jennifer Payne, Parrish and Payne, Jennifer and Christy and Kerry, and we're all trying to do something similar here. So I take it really seriously what we're doing, and I have some damn good editing skills. I can clean up audio. I'm doing really good. Um, but yeah, I said I knew how Quentin Tarantino felt, and we just laughed and laughed so hard. I mean, back in the day, my husband used to call me Federico Fellini. Any of us old folks knew he was a filmmaker from back in the day. Because I mean, even now in 2026, and I've got all kinds of recording devices and whatever, I have always made videos, analog cameras, etc. Always made videos for years and years and years. So, but yeah, me and Quentin Tarantino, we had a cup of coffee with him last night, and we lamented over this. But anyways, back to the drawing board. And as sad as I was over it, I wasn't mad about it. I was sad, but I wasn't mad. Mad would have been a real waste of my energy, and I needed to focus my energy into building this project back up. So I wanted to be mad about it, but it wasn't. So it's just sad. So, but chin up and back at it. And again, if anybody is interested in having the walk done, having Christy Parrish do a walkthrough of your property and give you her impressions, let me know, because I will set it up, and then Carrie and I will show up with our cameras, and we will record Christy walking through your property, and we will make an episode out of it. So we're hoping to I have a few episodes to release by the fall. So, anyways, that's that little check-in. So, yeah, me and Quentin Tarantino. So, anyways, onward and upward. Today on my live stream, I said we were going to tackle some TikTok myths. And say that 3 times fast. I've been practicing that with my Tacklebox Tailbone Tiny Toy Car. That's a kind of a rite that I say before I go on the air. I also learned that eating an apple before you go online, or before you speak, not go online, before you speak, is really good. It cleanses the palate, and I'm finding that that's really helpful. Something I found online that was true, and that was about eating that apple. Because boy, did I find some bunk online today with these TikTok myths. Holy macanoli, man. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about, we're going to talk about lilacs today. I want to share something with you all. These are my lilacs. And isn't it funny how the leaves, you can see right through them because of the green screen? But Aren't my lilacs beautiful? And they smell wonderful. And my friend Carrie and I both love them so much. We were talking about it, and it's almost an ethereal experience to smell them. Really just takes me someplace in my head that I love. That I love. Maybe I'm addicted to them. I don't know. They release endorphins or something like that. So we're not going to talk about lilacs today and some myths. Um, but I started, I think everybody loves these. Let's see. Where am I in my notes? You know me in my notes. Purple paper, pens, ready to go. Harold in the purple crayon. Jennifer and her purple paper. Um, so these kind of things that you find when you're scrolling through TikTok. Craziest and most unexpected fatal accidents. Did you know? And they've got like vague names, like a woman named Peggy Harris. Um, Erin, your grandparents growing lilacs in the yard. Hold that thought. I have a great story to share later about the lilacs, so I want you to hold that thought. But anyways, kind of back to these weird freaking TikTok myths. There so many of them were things that even if you wanted to track them down, like I said, Mary Harris, the person's name was Mary Harris, or in the late 1980s, or it's not a lot of specific stuff. So I started saying I wanted to talk like about TikTok myths, but I think in the bigger picture, this live stream is really going to turn into a kind of a cautionary tale of the internet. And as I'm talking about a cautionary tale of the internet, I think if you scroll through the comments, you'll find I posted a link to the live stream that I had done about the Slender Man. And as I was looking through these weird TikTok things, it really made me think of the Slender Man in the early days of creepypasta. If anybody remembers that, where's Kat? Kat, I bet you remember creepypasta, and reading those kind of stories. But I posted a link to my live stream about the Slender Man because at the end of the day, it turns out that the Slender Man, as tragic as the story was, because a young girl was almost fatally wounded by two other young girls, is a story of unchecked internet BS. It was a story of kids, and I can't say unchecked kids. You really can't blame the parents. I know as a kid, and Kat, I'm looking to you for this one too. Our parents never knew what we were doing. Never, ever, ever. From the time we were little till the time we moved out of their houses, my mother didn't know what I was doing. And I think that's why I got in so much trouble because I really didn't have a lot of oversight. But so you can't say, well, I watch everything my kids do on the internet. We like to think that we do. Oh, good morning, our West Coaster in the house. I just saw a comment from Laurie. Yep, good morning, Laurie. So yeah, so this is I want you to go back and watch that live stream about the Slender Man and see what happened with an unchecked and Kat, if our parents knew, I think I was a different parent than my mother was because I knew what I was up to and at what age I was doing it, and and none of that crap was going to go on here, hopefully. But yeah, it's really easy for kids for I don't want to say to be unchecked. It's easy for your parents not to know what the hell you're doing. I know I pulled that off. Kat pulled that off, and so many of you did as well, especially folks in my age range. Um, I think our parents thought we were a lot more innocent than we really were. Um, but so as I started looking into some of these TikTok things, like I said, I started finding like some unchecked internet BS that, man, you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. Um, and let me see, where do I want to go with this? Let me kind of see where I want to go. So we talked about Slender Man, unchecked internet. Let me so I picked out some random things that I read on TikTok, and I read them in things like this. So maybe you're going to see one of them here and there, and one of them you're not. I don't know. Do you guys like watching those? I love them. I think they're very very moody and stylish, and they definitely have me addicted with the creepy music and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm just now learning how to make TikToks, but I don't want to. I don't want to put out fake TikToks. I want to put out real stuff. Um, so again, no rhyme or reason to the ones that I picked, and I did the ones that I picked that I read on these kind of those weird things. I did a little bit of research. Some of them I could prove, some of them I couldn't prove, and some of them were definitively no, and some of them were just so vague it was laughable, you know. And some of them had a basis of truth in it, which the ones that had a basis of truth in it really pissed me off a little bit because it took me 2 seconds to get to the real story. Why would you deliberately put crap out there to fool people? You know what I mean? So again, this is going to be a story kind of some unchecked internet stuff. So let's see. We're definitely going to talk about superstitions of lilacs. I'm going to start with a weird one. Walt Disney. I read on one of those TikTok videos that Walt Disney died with a note in his hand that said, "Kill Goofy." Well, took about 2 seconds to find out, no, that's not true. What I did find out with a little bit of research, and that was where I had some fun with this project, what I found out with a little bit of research was that Walt Disney wasn't too fond of Goofy because Goofy was goofy, for lack of a better word. And so Walt Disney wasn't too fond of how Goofy was, but he didn't say kill Goofy. And also another myth long before there was TikTok, but people thought that Walt Disney was, his remains were put in some kind of cryogenic state. They were not. He was cremated, but what fueled the mystery was that he planned his own he didn't plan his own demise, but he planned for there to be no funeral when he died. So Walt Disney didn't have a funeral. So that added some mystery. And he was cremated without a funeral. So that added some mystery to his death. And then also, shortly after Walt Disney died, the very first person to be cryogenically frozen after death, that happened. So there's a lot of like mixing of stories to get to the point of, did Walt Disney have a note that said kill Goofy? No. And was Walt Disney cryogenically frozen? Absolutely not. And again, that cryogenically frozen one, I didn't read that on TikTok. That's been probably an internet and even before myth since forever and a day, right? I think we've all heard that one. Let's see. Now talk about like deliberate, like why waste your energy, right? I saw one of these cool ones that had the moody music to it, and it said, "Your dreams only last 4 minutes." And I said, wow, some dreams feel like they really last forever. Oh my God. Your dreams only last 4 minutes. And I scroll, I think this is one of the ones that made me want to do this show. And I scrolled past and I was thinking about it, and it kind of stuck with me for a day or so. I'm like, wow, sure does seem like dreams last longer than that. Well, when I sat down to research it, it turns out dreams last normally in a normal functioning brain. A dream lasts from 5 to 20 minutes, which just seems to make more sense to me. But I wondered why somebody would bother going to the effort of saying dreams last 4 minutes and literally coming in 1 minute shy of where it starts and where the real benchmark is. You see what I mean about unchecked internet? You have to take everything with a grain of salt. You just can't believe everything you read online. And I think I'm giving you some good reasons why, right? Yeah, why would you waste your time? You know what? I'm going to go online and I'm going to make a fake post about how long dreams last. And I'm going to lie to everybody, especially young, impressionable teenage girls and impressionable 60-something-year-olds that doom scroll when they get nothing better to do. But you get my point. Like, why not put your effort into posting true shit? They're my hero. They're posting true facts. I don't know. I just don't get it. Let's see. Black Plague. I thought this one was interesting. Did you know that the Black Plague just disappeared with no cause and no reason? Nobody knows why. Well, the Black Plague happened in the 1300s. I think early 1300s to probably like 1351 or so. And the Black Plague was transmitted. It was a disease that was transmitted from fleas that were on rats. So Black Plague was from rats, and fleas bit them and got infected, and then fleas bit humans and humans got sick. And no, the Black Plague didn't just disappear. What did disappear is viable human beings to carry the virus. so many people died from the Black Plague, and there were so few healthy people left to carry the virus that the virus kind of wiped itself out because it ran out of viable hosts. A virus needs a host. It ran out of viable, healthy human beings to host it. So I thought that was weird. And again, about 2 seconds flat takes you to someplace, which takes you to someplace, which takes you to someplace that you would deem a reliable source. Not TikTok. You just can't. If anybody ever says to you, "Wow, you know what I read on TikTok the other day," or "You know what I heard on TikTok," say, "Whoa, are you sure about that?" So other things that helped get rid of the Black Plague were quarantine of sick people, and also genetic immunity. People started building up immunities to it as well. So no, the Black Plague did not just disappear on its own. Now, this is one I found at the last minute and threw it on my list. The bottom of Lake Superior is so cold that human remains don't decompose. I said, holy cow. Now, that one really piqued my curiosity because I don't know what you guys are watching in your spare time or whatever in the background, but my newest obsession lately is the Mariana Trench, and I'm watching anything I can get my eyes on YouTube about the Mariana Trench, which is amazing. It is amazing. Enough said. You guys don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. The Mariana Trench. And there's some things that happen there that are just mind-boggling. That I've said this before on this show. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about what's below the ocean. And the Mariana Trench is the deepest point on Earth, and there's amazing life down there that just shouldn't even exist. It's incredible. So I strongly recommend, if you're into that kind of stuff, check that out. It is so good. So let's see. All right, where am I? But the fish eat them. No, Dan, it's too cold down there. So let me get back to Lake Superior. Dan says, but the fish eat them. No, what happens to human remains in Lake Superior? The water is so cold and so deep that human remains turn almost to a waxy substance. Now that much was in the TikTok. It's so cold in the bottom of Lake Superior that human remains don't decompose. They just turn to a waxy substance. They do turn to a waxy substance, and then they decompose at a much, much slower rate. So the cold water actually preserves human remains in that type of setting. And the other thing is that the water is so cold that the bacteria necessary to decompose a human can't live in that cold water. So decomposition takes much, much longer in the frigid waters of Lake Superior. And what is Gordon? Gordon Lightfoot say, Superior, they said, never gives up or dead when the gales of November come early. So I'm sure that there definitely are some human remains in the bottom of Lake Superior, the Edmund Fitzgerald sank. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. So that's kind of a yes and no. Yes and no. Is TikTok right? Yes and no. Yes, human remains do turn to a waxy substance that far down and in that cold of water, but it doesn't end decomposition. It delays it significantly because there's not the normal bacteria that we would have to decompose. That's what decomposition is. Things getting eaten up by bacteria. So let's see, what do we have next? How about this one? Broccoli is a GMO. So before we even talk about broccoli being a GMO, I just want to tell you that I hate broccoli. Can't stand it. Never could. My husband and my mother both love broccoli, so I like to cook it for them every now and then. And my God, there's got to be some way to deal with the smell. Oh my God, I hate it so bad. And then I found out, so I'm going to share this little trick with you. So if anybody likes cooking broccoli, but you can't stand the smell of it, when you've got it in the steamer, you would steam it over a pan of boiling water. When you've got it in the steamer, cover that broccoli with a few slices of bread And that few slices of bread will absorb that odor of the broccoli, and your house won't stink, and you can serve broccoli to your husband and your mother on special occasions without stinking up your house. So I just wanted to share that tidbit with you. Broccoli does have a strong odor for a reason. It's a defense against getting eaten, and in particular, like pregnant women, generally speaking, shouldn't eat. This is probably a myth. Maybe I heard this wrong, but I've heard that that the odor in broccoli is designed really to prevent pregnant women from eating it. That it might make them sick. I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. But anyways, what I did read was that broccoli is a GMO. Well, is it or is it not? Yes and no. So it's genetically modified, but not in the Monsanto sense. It's not, laboratory modified. Broccoli is a cross between cabbage, different types of cabbage, and kale, done through human intervention, through hybrid breeding over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's how broccoli got created. And I thought that was interesting. So broccoli is genetically modified, but it's not a GMO that we tend to think of Monsanto and Roundup and all that kind of stuff. But it does have some human intervention, like so many things, like roses and lilacs and other things too. Now, interesting, corn is also I would say I call corn like the OG GMO. Corn is a grass, and corn is the originally genetic modified food by man. Man has genetically modified, not always in a scientific capacity. Well, yeah, scientific, but not in a laboratory capacity. But through years and years of hybrid and cross pollination and all that kind of stuff, um, we created corn out of grass. Yes, Nathan, that is very true. But in fact, we have so over hybridized, if that's a word, we have so over hybridized corn, which is not necessarily a bad thing because we use corn to feed the world. Corn and wheat, those wheat, but corn is one of those foods that we use to feed the world. But corn is so hybridized that it can no longer survive without human intervention. And I thought that was interesting. So we have really kind of bastardized grass to the point where when it's corn, that it really needs human intervention. And I'm not complaining, and I'm not making any kind of political statement. I'm just stating some facts where TikTok didn't. Um, I read the broccoli thing on TikTok, but the corn thing was something that I had learned years ago, which I just thought was very, very interesting. So corn being modified by humans, grass, and again, now corn being so modified that to grow it needs human intervention. I thought that was interesting. Let's see, what else? Then I found some like spooky stuff. Spooky. In the catacombs of Paris, small handprints were found, small enough to be child size, but too tall to be a children's, blah, 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 and this and that. Listen, I'm going to throw this up there. Nathan used to detassel corn, which was used for cross pollination. There you go. I feel validated. Thank you, Nathan. See, corn is very, very cross pollinated. But so back to the Paris catacombs. I read on TikTok that again they found child handprints, but way taller than adults, and no means to how did the children's handprints get 7 feet up, and there were no means for them to be there, and too small to be adults. And the Paris catacombs are freaky, anyways. If anybody knows anything about them, check them out. I don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. Paris catacombs are freaky, but it's something so vague. I couldn't find any basis to it. And certainly we've all watched all the ghost hunting shows, and they've all been to the Paris catacombs, and I can't recall anybody saying, and the case of the child handprints that were 7 feet up. Now, everybody out there in gals, ghosts, and ladies land, if you want to talk to me about the bones of 7 foot tall human beings that were recovered in caves in Arizona, I will have that conversation with you because that happened. What is their origin? I have no idea, but that really happened. this 7 foot tall children in the Paris catacombs? No. So debunking another TikTok. Now the next one, again, I was saying like unchecked internet is just really, really weird. Um, Let me go back to the corn cultivated in other parts of North America earlier, certainly indigenous people, really thousands of years, probably going back to Egypt. I think that corn and wheat would grasses would be some really original hybridized stuff to feed crops to feed people, Um, but so, anyways, I kind of having a theme here by like how dangerous is it really to be reading this stuff on the internet? Some of this stuff is blatantly not true. Some of it is true, and some of it's half true. So, how do you pick and choose, right? How do you here? This sounds like a completely innocuous factoid. 13 people die every year in vending machine accidents in the United States. Wow, who knew? Well, I looked it up. And again, in 2 seconds, I found a source which led me to a source which led me to a source that I considered to be legit. No, 13 people a year don't die in vending machine accidents. 2 to 3 people die per year in vending machine accidents. So why would somebody deliberately take that information and just tweak it just enough to be just not true? I don't know. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe somewhere it said 1-3 and some bot interpreted it to be 13. But anyway, you look at it, it's not true. 2 to 3 people and 13 people, that's a significant difference. Drastically overblown for TikTok views. Um, Right? I mean, just baloney, baloney. Berdingers, as Mr. Cross from Bristol Eastern High School used to say when he was calling out some baloney. Berdingers. So let's see. A man had a tree removed from his lung. So a man had a tree growing in his lung. I think we've all heard this kind of stuff. Nathan, good question. Did vending machines fall on them? I hope not. I don't know what the reason was, but it's only a few people. It's only a few. We know kids, we know toddlers survived crawling up inside of them. So, um, but anyways, back to this other one. A man had a tree removed from his lung. And how many of us remember thinking we were going to grow a watermelon in our belly? If we ate a watermelon seed or an apple seed, we'd grow an apple tree. Remember those kind of myths. And now you've got it on TikTok saying a man had a tree removed from his lung. So I said, could that really happen? How about busting a myth, that's been around since I was a kid, right? So I looked it up. And you should do the same. Don't take my word for it. It is biologically impossible for any kind of plant to Nathan. Yeah, Nathan, the claw machine. Did he get the tree in his lung from the vending machine? Ding, ding, ding. 5 points for that question. That's the comment of the day. But it's biologically impossible to have a tree grow in your lung or a watermelon grow in your stomach because any type of plant matter that we're familiar with needs sunlight or some type, even artificial sunlight. Photosynthesis is and you go back to freshman biology, photosynthesis, turning sunlight into energy to make plant life grow. So that's got to happen, and it's not going to happen in your lungs. So a tree isn't going to grow, or an apple isn't going to grow, and you're not going to get a watermelon in your belly. Okay, so that busts that myth, which has been a myth that I've been aware of for years and years and years. So that busts that. But why would you post that? Why would you? But I'm going to take the time today and post that. A lady had a tree growing out of her life. Like, why? I'd put my energy into something else. Hey, but that's just me. All right, let's see. More people die from selfies than from shark attacks. Dan, I'm going to pull this. Dan, you heard of a pea growing in a nose. Maybe a pea stuck in a nose. I don't think it was growing. It needs sunlight for photosynthesis. Look, like I said, don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. A pea could be stuck there maybe growing some other, I don't know, but not growing into a pea plant because it needs sunlight and photosynthesis. So I would call that one out, Dan. I would say look into that one a little bit more. So, anyways, more people die from selfies than from shark attacks. Can confirm. Can confirm. In the last 13 years, 379 people have died from taking selfies. Now, I don't know if that meant they were taking the picture and fell off a cliff, taking the picture and got, um, impaled by the bull behind them that they were trying to get a picture of. I have no idea. I didn't go that far down the rabbit hole because I got other things I'm working on too. But I did find out that in the last 13 years, 379 documented reports of people dying while taking selfies, and they were considered accidental selfie deaths. And in the same 13 years, there were only 90 confirmed shark attacks. So 379 documented deaths from taking selfies and 90 deaths from shark attacks over a 13-year period. So that's one that the internet got right. And I'm not surprised because it's kind of an internet myth about the internet. So now I've got a couple more left, and where this last one really again gets into like a cautionary tale of the internet. It's like, why bother? Why bother? If you're gonna put this much effort into fake shit, put some effort into some real shit, right? So I read in 1911 the novel The Titan predicted what was going to happen to the Titanic. And so again, in 1911, the novel The Titan predicted what was going to happen on the Titanic. So interesting. This is yes and no. It was so easy to find the truth out. Why go through the energy of putting out a lie? Okay, so yes and no. Some kind of book happened before the Titanic. Let's see, what was it? So it was not 1911, like I read on TikTok. It was not 1911, and it wasn't a novel called The Titan. It was 1898, and it was a novella, so it was short, and it was entitled Wreck of the Titan, and it also went by the name Futility. So those were the two titles of that novella, and this was 11, 12, 13 years earlier than whatever I saw published on TikTok that said that this came out. So now that being said, oh my God, the similarities are almost uncanny. There are definitely some differences, but the similarities were weird, including the name of the ship, the Titan, the Titanic. The Titan did hit an iceberg after somebody sabotaged it and there had been some damage to the ship. The Titanic, I don't know about that. And I think the Titan at the one in 1898, the basis of it was a love story. So this again kind of reminded me of the Slender Man. This is what happens when the internet just goes completely unchecked. We talk about things that are mysterious and macabre here on Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, and I find this to be very mysterious that people post it like this. But internet unchecked, Slender Man, ropes in young girls, and they do this, stupid stuff. Well, imagine having a test in school, and instead of studying, you go online on TikTok and you look some of the stuff up and you go into class the next day and you're going to fail your test. You're going to be like, where did they get this baloney from? So what happens when the internet goes unchecked? You get just false information just flows out there. So I think we've kind of shown a really mishmash of some TikTok myths that I've seen online, some of you have seen online, and they're so much fun to look at and so much fun to listen to, and they get spooky music, and they're, creepy and all that kind of stuff. They're produced well. But who and why is putting out all this fake stuff? I just don't understand it. So I thought that was interesting. So friends, be careful when you're looking at TikTok, okay? So And now there you go. And now they show with AI, they show fake evidence. And I think that that really, I don't want to say it cheapens what we do as paranormal investigators, but it makes it harder to take us seriously. I will tell you what, I do know who's got integrity in my circle. And so if Sue and Nathan and Kelly and certain other people say they've got some evidence, well, I'm going to believe them. But yeah, I just can't believe anything that you see online anymore. And not even that. I mean, for years, like the spiritualist movement was faking evidence and faking photographs and all that kind of stuff. Always be a little bit of a skeptic. As Christy says, believe always. Have an open mind, but debunk when you have to, even if it's a TikTok myth. So that's kind of it on TikTok myths. But before I close out for the day, when I was looking up these TikTok myths, I did find, I remember I said I was going to talk about lilacs. I did find some superstitions about lilacs, and I wonder, and I mean, I'm looking over here to the side to all my commenters. Did anybody ever know that there were superstitions around? Yeah, Kelly brings up a good point. We're tuning to trusted people for truth. You're turning to trusted people for truth. You're proof. I mean, you're absolutely right. We know who our circle is and who we trust. And you look outside and you know you don't trust, and it's like, I don't know anymore. So, anyways, so I digress. Back to this. Isn't it funny how the green screen, you can see it through the leaves, but aren't these beautiful? So when I was looking up these myths on TikTok, I ran across lilac myths, and I'm like, guys, I'm 62 years old. I never knew there were myths about lilacs, and they've always, and I mean always, been my favorite flower. And I know they're Carrie's favorite flower. And we were just discussing the other day, and maybe I said earlier, how the smell of lilacs is transformative and transportive and ethereal, and I just find it to release endorphins, and I don't need no stinking dope. I got lilacs. But they're so beautiful, and they don't last long, and they only bloom at certain times of the year, and they're one of the rare flowers that no matter how much you pay, good luck trying to get lilacs in a bouquet of flowers. You can't. You can get lilies any time of the year and get carnations all the time. You can get good roses in February. We know this, but get me some lilacs off season. Get me some lilacs in August. Get me some lilacs in January. You just can't do it. So, anyways, so it's another funny talking with my husband. You know, I told him we cracked up at that Quentin Tarantino comment. So I did my research on the lilacs, and I said to him, "Did you ever think there'd be so much superstition about lilacs?" And he said to me, "Did you ever think there'd be a game called cornhole?" And like, no, I didn't. So another crack up in the house of pain. Another humor just keeps us going. No, never thought there'd be a game called cornhole. And Kelly had no idea about lilac myths either. So all right, let's get into it. Again, my beautiful lilacs, which I picked these this morning. Well, the white ones, I have to admit, came from up the road a ways, up the road a piece. But the purple ones are mine, and I could smell them all day, all day. So, and here's a picture of my lilac bush. And it's just beautiful. And it's just thrived from the first day that we put it in the ground. And I don't have a picture of it here, but last summer I drove over a shoot. This lilac tree has so many new shoots. Drove over a shoot accidentally with the lawnmower. And the damn thing is just growing this way now. So I've got this great lilac tree growing, and then I've got to the side, I've got one growing off like this because I just couldn't kill the damn thing. So, anyways, it's just from the minute we put it in the ground, it was just stunning, just stunning. So here, here's an interesting thing. When my husband and I moved into this house about 12 years ago, a good friend of ours named Kathleen that we both worked with, and Kim very closely worked with at Pine Street Inn. Kathleen gave us this, whoops, not that one. Kathleen gave us this lilac bush, which was very small. She had propagated it herself, and that always kind of blows my mind because you can propagate a Swedish ivy, those kind of house plants and a few other things, but try propagating a rose bush, try propagating a lilac bush. Really, really hard to do. So she had propagated it and gave it to us when we first moved in. And from the minute we put it in the ground, this thing is absolutely flourished. It's always got new shoots, and we just got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blossoms this year. It's amazing. So, where did this, how did this lilac bush end up at Snug Harbor Bay in Quincy, Massachusetts? Well, this is the mama of this. So you can see how big that lilac bush is. It fully goes from the right, it sweeps all the way to the left, it goes all the way across. You can see some hanging plants. Those lilac bushes are easily 8 to 9 feet tall. They're healthy, they're well rounded out, and it's just a big hedge of lilac bushes, right? That's the mama to this. So my friend Kathleen, when her family came here from Italy 126 years ago, 126 years ago, they brought a lilac bush with them from their property in, I believe it was Sicily, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but I do know it was somewhere in Italy. I'm pretty sure it was Sicily. That lilac bush lived on their home in Italy, and when they emigrated to this country in the 1920s and 30s, during the mass migration period through Ellis Island, they brought that with them, and it's still at their family homestead. And my friend Kathleen propagated that for us, and it is just absolutely flourishing. And I think that sometimes when you have a plant that would come off a plant that old, it would kind of be tired and wouldn't do well. No, this is amazing. And we love the history behind it. We love the love behind the gift. We just love it. We love that lilacs have always been my favorite flower. Always, always. So there's special meaning in that. And so this lilac bush really, really means a lot. It was given to us by a special friend and the roots, literally the roots of this lilac bush go back to Italy. So it's very, very sentimental to us. We love it. It's right outside the front door. On a day like today, when the windows are open, you can smell it in the house. It's just a really cool story, really cool plant. You can just see how stunningly beautiful they are. Um, and on that note, I'm going to share with you some superstitions on lilacs, and I had no idea, no idea. There's good and bad superstitions. Well, I'm sticking with the good because I never knew a bad superstition about lilacs in my life. So, anyways, so yeah, they're my friend Carrie's favorite. I know they're a lot of people's favorite. It's funny, Carrie and I were just talking about them the other day. I know, Erin, isn't that the sweetest story? And it's true. It's not one of those TikTok stories. It's true. So, anyways, in Gaelic culture, British, Scottish, Irish, back in Gaelic, like Celtic culture, it was bad luck to bring lilacs inside the house. Well, I've been bringing lilacs in for years, so I can't fault them for any bad luck. But it was bad luck to bring them inside the house. Also, I didn't realize this. Lilacs were used, and this makes sense because we know how fragrant lilacs are. I said I can smell them in my house with the window open um, from the tree outside. Um, lilacs were used to cover the smell of death and decomposition, and they were used at wakes and funerals. And people had wakes and funerals in their home back in the day. I just want to say, was anybody at the Oliver House with us back in, I want to say it was March. I know Christy Parrish was there. I was there. Krista Napoli was there. Who else was there? Anybody? All night long, we were getting the scent of lilacs. Any room we went to, there was scent of lilacs. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. So lilacs were used to cover the scent of death in a home. And it just really makes a lot of sense to me because of how strong lilac scent is. But it said that bringing them in the house invites evil. Well, again, no, I can debunk that. No, it doesn't. But especially the white ones, especially the white ones. And I do, like I said, I got the white ones from up the road a ways. Yes, Kelly, yeah, Oliver House, absolutely. Were you there? We were smelling, I was anyways, smelling lilacs all night long. But then when I looked into why is it bad luck, especially the white lilacs, it's because the white lilacs are rare and it was really used as a tactic to discourage people from picking other people's lilacs. Like I said, my white lilacs came from up the road a ways. Sorry, neighbors. Heart, love you. Good to see how little it is. But I thought that's interesting why they said they made stuff up to discourage people from bringing them in the house. But also, here's something interesting, which I looked up, and this is true. So we know lilacs appear later in the later half of springtime. And it was when many people died in older times. That's the term I found. And I said, no way. Many people don't die in the springtime. And I looked it up, and especially in quote unquote older times, April, May, and June. Interesting tidbit. April, May, and June carry a three times and always have three times normal, or I don't know, always have. I don't know about now. In older times, April, May, and June carried a three times higher than normal suicide rate. Sorry, three times higher than December suicide rate. So people killed themselves in April, May, and June in older times. Also, and I found this was true, and I found this was interesting. Allergy season. Allergies cause inflammation, and inflammation means 105 things at least, right? Inflammation means stuffy nose. That is inflammation. Inflammation it comes in the form of cardiovascular. Inflammation comes in the form of joint pain. How about when it's, I don't know, rainy and it's springtime and you've got, so inflammation is a lot of things that are very, very related to springtime. And I knew this. I don't know if any of you did, but inflammation kills people. Inflammation is a root cause of death. Um, and chronic inflammation is bad for your brain, it's bad for your heart, it's bad for your joints, bad, blah, 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 on and on. And springtime allergy season, it's a time for inflammation, and people die because of things related to inflammation. So I just thought that was really bizarre. So that kind of gave, the lilacs kind of a bad name. They show up at a time when people died. A lot of people died, and then they were used in their funerals. So interesting. So I thought that was interesting about the seasonal allergies as well. And also, springtime triggers asthma, people working in gardens, heart attacks, so on and so on and so forth. People died in springtime. I thought that was interesting. Also, lilacs are related to folklore of fairies, and it was said if you brought the lilacs into your house, you're inviting the fairies into your house. And if anybody knows anything about fairies and the fae, they're tricksters and they're mischievous, and you don't really want to invite them in. So that's an interesting myth as well. Right. So come on, guys. Again, who knew about all this stuff about lilacs? Oh, smells so beautiful, but who knew, right? Let's see. So let's wrap things up on a positive note, right? Oh, and again, supposedly bad luck to pick them because really it was supposed to discourage you from picking your neighbor's lilacs. Again, sorry, neighbor up the road. So the good luck alternatives. It does, Kelly. It totally makes sense because everything is used to control people. Everything. Look at some of our other live streams, Pied Piper, religion, so on and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, if you steal my lilacs, you're gonna have bad luck. Kathy's gonna steal them anyways. I know you, Kat. I bet you probably got white lilacs in your house like I do right now. Anyways, so lilacs have four petals, and finding a five-petal one is good luck. I didn't know that. So now I'm going to have to look through these and find a five-petal one. And then if you do find a five-petal one, it can mean a couple of things. That you're going to find your true love. It could mean that your marriage is going to be prosperous and blessed. And also, if you do find a five-flowered lilac. You're supposed to make a wish and eat it and put it up towards the camera. Aren't they just beautiful? So yeah, if you find, I'm gonna have to take a look later and see if I can find a five-flowered one for luck. I don't think I'm going to eat it though. Um, but I already feel that I have a prosperous marriage and have found true love, and I'm very happy with him, and I think he's happy with me. But anyways, don't need the lilacs for that. But I wouldn't mind making a wish, see if it comes true. And some of the superstitions is that lilacs have a great cleansing power. Some ideologies suggest that they can clear out negativity or blow out stagnancy from the winter. Well, I like the sound of that one because, like I said, I open my windows and I can smell the lilacs coming in. And I'm sitting right next to these, I can smell them coming in. With a little fresh air, I can just see how that would just kind of clear out the cobwebs of winter and get your mindset into springtime. Um, So that's my TikTok myths, busting some of them, proving some of them true, and then finding out the that obscura, the who knew about lilacs. I'm really glad. I hate to say this. I'm really glad nobody knew about lilacs but me. Well, I didn't know. I just found this out, but I think it's interesting that most of us here. And I keep looking off to the side because I'm looking at my comments. Many of you are in my age range. Some of you are a little younger than me. But that none of us had heard these superstitions about lilacs. And literally, I know, Kat, you're from where I'm from. We literally grew up with them in our neighborhoods. That's the lilac bathroom spray. It's right because it covers up the smell of death. Lilac covered smell of everything. But Kelly, when you were at Oliver House, did you smell lilac that night? So, oh yes, you say you smelled that. So you smelled it at the Oliver House too. So I just think that that's just really interesting. Like I said about the lilacs and also about all those other myths on TikTok. So I think what I want you all to take away from today's coffee hour is really this: everything that you read on TikTok, take it with a grain of salt. Everything you see on YouTube, take it with a grain of salt. Or as a YouTube AI thing I saw the other day said, take it with a pinch of salt. No, you don't take it with a pinch of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. There is a basis to that expression. You can't just go hatcheting it up, chopping it up like I just did a hatchet job on that. Let's see. What did Kelly just say? Kelly. I was looking for Kelly's comments. Nathan has smelled lilacs in the Oliver House, and Kelly has as well, right after we were done investigating the kids' room. So yeah, lots of lilac scents in places where we've done paranormal investigation. I think I'm going to have to. Oh, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wouldn't deliberately publish fake stuff. I promise you that. But I also want to tell you, don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. Okay. So definitely some of this stuff I debunked. Look it up yourself. And when you are scrolling through that stuff on TikTok, enjoy it. It's definitely fun. I enjoy it. Um, but just remember, some of these things people are deliberately putting stuff out. If something catches your eye, look it up and find out if it's true or not. Maybe bring it back and we'll talk about it. So on that note, guys, look at us, gone for an hour. Reverend Mark in the house. Hi, Mark. Nice to see you. So that was a lot of fun busting TikTok myths, and that was a lot of fun talking about the superstitions of lilacs. And also, I think probably the last thing I want to remind folks that if you're interested in having Christy Parrish come to your property and do a walkthrough of your property and show up with me and Kerry, a small film crew, hit me up and let me know. Kathy, thank you. Those are my words right there. You all got a Google finger. Look it up yourself. Thank you. I feel like I've got a catchphrase here. Use your Google finger. Your Google finger ain't broken. Geez, guys, on that note, it's a beautiful Sunday out. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for coffee, joining me for busting TikTok myths, joining me for talking about lilacs. These are a few of my favorite things. So many of you are some of my favorite people, and I just love live streaming and chatting with you all. And Laurie, my West Coast fan, thank you all very much. I'm going to sign off because I'm probably going to go cut the grass. this afternoon. But whatever you do, get outside and enjoy this weather. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see everybody soon. Bye bye.